right, guys. Let's do a video about gym culture because I'm in a cut-off shirt right now. Turn this volume up. Oh, yeah, I gotta turn the volume up on the actual video. There we go. Jesus. These videos, these long intros, man. I feel like I'm watching some kind of... Wow, this guy's got crazy cinematography.
That's like the second time this week. I really wish I had someone to hold. Fuck it, let's keep going. What am I hitting today again? Girlfriend so bad. Fuck.
Bro, I feel so bad for the people who are genuinely just so extremely lonely in their lives. Like, I'm aware that it's a real problem and that people really wish that they had people who they felt connected to, and they're replacing it with all of these hobbies. And it bums me out, but it is funny. I don't know why it's funny. I don't know why it makes me laugh so much, the absolute breakdown of society, but it makes me giggle.
I forgot to make food. We gotta stay hard. We gotta fucking push through this, man.
I can't explain the difficulty in this. People, anyone who's online saying things like, it's easy, you just gotta do it, bro, blah, 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 get out there, eat the right food. Dude, it's a million things to juggle in your brain, everything that you have to do. And then people want you to constantly throw more shit on top of it. You gotta work your job, which means that you have to have a decent sleep schedule so that you can be awake at the times that you need to. You have to stay clean and keep up with all of your household chores. You have to make sure that you're eating the right thing, which takes a lot of planning. You have to keep track of all of your macros or what. It is ludicrous, the amount of things. Anyone who has a hard time doing the basics in life, know that I can identify with you super, super well, and that I have struggled over a long time to get it together. I suffered from that thing when I was young where everything just felt pretty easy. And so everyone assumed that I just had it figured out and they didn't have to worry about me. Like when we were doing the alphabet in school, I could memorize it really quickly. And when we did multiplication tables, I got all those down and I could always spell in the spelling bee and all that stuff. And so the teachers eventually said, oh, he doesn't need any help. And then I get around 6th grade, 7th grade, and I fell off, dude. It's 7th grade. I missed maybe 2.5 weeks of school and came back to algebra class or pre-algebra, whatever it was, and just didn't know anything. And they still let me pass that class. And then I went on to multiple math classes after, and the first one they didn't let me pass without understanding it really well was trigonometry. And that's the first math class that I failed.
Every day is the same. When will things change?
Yeah. If you think the number one trick that I've found in life to beat the anxiety of wow, everything is terrible is to not think. You have to learn how to turn that brain off. You have your whole life as someone who overthinks said to yourself, those normies, if I could just be a meathead, if I could just be ignorant the way that they are, and I could just do it, dude. Just do it. Do whatever it takes. Sniff glue, man. I'm telling you, turn that brain off. Learn how to harness that power, because the truth is that anxiety is a disease of thinking, and you're not going to think your way out of it. Yes, everything is terrible. Yes, you have way more to do than you can possibly manage. Yes, 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 all of these things are happening. The only choice is to not think about them. Who cares about the bills, baby? Get out there.
So I'm sitting there, and
I think I want to start eating a smoothie. I think I want to get some beets in, and I can't eat beets. I hate the taste of them, so maybe I'll put them in a smoothie.
it's the worst pain I can't even describe.
It hurts me because 4 years ago, 6 years ago, I was that guy who was watching all of these motivational videos to try to find how to push myself. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, I was the guy who did really well at a young age, very young, from 3 to 10 or whatever. And then after that, I fell off significantly. And by the time I was in my 20s, I was early 20s, 20 years old. I was borderline useless in all ways. I was in a band, and that was my entire life, and I couldn't even do that well. I couldn't practice ahead of time. I would show up to practice and just not have learned the songs that I needed to learn. I hadn't written the parts that I needed to write. I was a mess. I couldn't do anything. So I used those videos to just pour that that mojo into me of get up and go, get out there and do it, push yourself hard. I was posting videos and photos of me running at 4 a.m. and doing all of the cringy stuff that you can possibly imagine somebody doing. And I believe it was a necessary thing for me to learn how to get myself together. But I'm so glad that it's over now, because it makes me cringe like crazy to see someone who needs all of these extra little things that from the outside looking in are super, I hate to use the term cringe again, but they are very cringe. I get that you need them, and I don't begrudge you for that, and I'm glad that you're getting your life together, and I know that that's a process, but do you have to act like you're doing something that no one has ever done before when you're eating oatmeal and chicken breast? Do you have to do that? Do you have to behave like you're better than everyone else? Just stop having a superiority complex is the number one advice that I would give to anybody in this world. You are not better than a single other person. You're just not. You are some guy or girl or non-binary person or whatever. You are just some person, and you are not anything else. Some guy, just some guy.
The pain of that last 30 miles to anybody. No one, it's very hard.
To the gym, bro. People also treat the gym like it's this magical cure-all for everything that's wrong with you. The amount of people who... this is the truth about it, right? If you have a superiority complex, no matter what, you will try to find something that you can do that the majority of other people around you can't do as well as you can, and then you will lord that over people in order to make yourself feel like you're important, because deep down you know that you're not, and that's an insecurity for you. So in order to make up for that insecurity, you have to make other people feel worse than you so that you can go, well, they at least don't feel as good as I do, so by comparison, I am something. That's what you're doing. And there's people on the internet who will be doing tricep extensions and just out there saying, I can't get the proper form here, doing tricep extensions and just saying things like, you think that money in your bank account makes you a man? That ain't what makes you a man. The fact that I can fight off an armed intruder with my bare hands is what makes me a man. Stuff like that. Insane way to think. Absolutely bonkers way to feel about everything. Bunk the mic. There are multiple facets of life, so many of them, and you have to become proficient in tons of them in order to set yourself apart from the pack. There is education, there is career, there is fitness, there is philosophy, there is emotional intelligence, there is video games. There are just so many different things that you have to do, or not that you have to do, but that you can do and become proficient in. And dominance does not translate from one to the other. If you're really, really good in the gym and then someone takes you and just drops you into an AutoCAD class, and all these people have been drawing digitally and making builds for a long, long time, and all of a sudden you show up and you've never done it, you're not going to feel superior, because in that situation you are not superior. It doesn't translate. Lifting heavy weights is cool. I agree with that statement. I lift heavy weights. I like doing it. I like getting out there and feeling the muscle grow. I love getting a pump. I love flexing in the mirror and seeing my arms be bigger than they have before. I love seeing new muscle groups pop up. I love moving it and seeing striations happen. I love that feeling, but it's not, you are not better than someone else because you do that one thing more than they do. You're just not. Everyone has something they're really good at. Even if you don't find it important or valuable, remember that that's just a personal thing you've got going on. And honestly, that's a problem. Your mentality of I'm better than other people is a signal to me personally that you have some work to do. Yeah, dude. I mean, I would do these on a machine because, you know, it's just a little bit less accident prone. I've had a friend tear his shoulder before. Dude, the moment in between the sets. Oh man, it's brutal. I don't know what to do whenever I'm not lifting weights. It's easy when I'm lifting weights. I'm super focused on the moment. You know, I am pushing and I can't think about anything else. I'm just focusing on how many reps I'm getting done, how hard I'm hitting the muscle that I'm trying to hit. That's all I'm thinking about. But the second that I put the weight down and I have to open my eyes, this is embarrassing. One thing that I do a lot is I try to make it look like I'm focusing just as hard on recovery in between sets as I am on moving the weight, even though I'm totally not. I'm just like doing stuff like that because I have no idea how to behave around the other people. And yeah, man, I don't know. This is, probably no shock to people, but I have a little bit of a hard time making eye contact in the best of times, let alone when there's a shirtless dude beside me. And I don't even know what workout he's doing because I can't look at him. Carl, chill out, my guy. Relax. Go on, dude. Go on. I'll get you in a little bit. But yeah, dude, I don't know. It's difficult for me. The in-between moments, they're hard. All modern bodybuilders, if you're under the age of 30, guaranteed you are an anime fanatic. There's a reason that you're attracted to large, buff, muscular bodies that have a lot of definition, and it's because you watched anime for a long time, and all of the people who you thought were cool had big muscles, or when they took their clothes off, they were super shredded. That's the reason why. This is also why people have all these super stylish haircuts now, is because of anime. I've been saying this forever. When I was in high school, the really popular haircuts, especially in the scenes that I moved in, were these really big, teased out layers, spiked up, crazy haircuts. And it's all because of anime, man. People wanted to look like Goku and stuff. That's what was going on. Trunks, Super Saiyan do with all the spikes and everything. That was what everyone was shooting for. These poor guys, dude. Late night walk, gotta get those steps in. And then you're playing video games because this is what you actually want to do. I had a conversation with someone the other day about this. Doesn't it suck that all the things that you really want to spend your time doing in life are things that if you do all the time, they're progressively worse and worse for you? Isn't that so unfortunate? I love eating. So much, and the amount of food that I can eat in a day would shock and astound people. I used to be a heavier person, and I got it honestly. I can eat easy 6,000 calories in a day, no problems whatsoever. I can play video games for days without stopping if I'm really interested in the video game. And those things are things that are terrible for me. My whole life has been an experience of me trying to get myself to just want to do anything that's good for me instead of stuff that is bad for me. And, oh, dude, he has a squatty potty too. I do not have a squatty potty. I don't think they work very well. I've used footstools and things. I don't think it helps. But I don't have any problem with that stuff because, I eat pretty good and stuff, so. Jeez. But yeah, it's frustrating, You want to play video games. This is the thing he really wants to do. Look at how much attention to detail he has in his setup around his computer. He loves being at his computer. He loves playing, is this CSGO? Is that what this is? I don't play Counter-Strike, so I don't know. Look at how much he likes doing this. He has a super nice arm for his microphone and everything, and yet he still has to do all of these things that he doesn't like just to get a couple of hours of the thing that he does like. And this is sort of, not to go off on a weird tangent here, but this is the thing that I always think people miss out so much on, which is where they have this concept of, well, you got to do the things you don't want to do because it makes you hard or whatever. And I always think to myself that, but in the perfect world, you don't have to be hard. In the perfect world, we figured everything out and you can do exclusively what you want to do and the negative effects of it are minimized and yet you're getting just optimal levels of pleasure out of life. Because what really is life for if it's not for pleasure? You think about the reasons that we try to achieve things, it's so that we can have secured pleasure over the long term. We want to expand the power of the country that we live in because we want the people inside of it to have the highest standard of living and the most amount of wealth that they can have. Then you expand past that. Maybe the whole world becomes united in some kind of way. Well, then we start exploring out into the cosmos. Why do we do that? Because if we have absolute peace and there's no mass callings of the people, then you need unlimited resources. And the only way to get those are to look beyond the earth that we have. So we start moving out into society, or moving the society outwards. And if you keep following this, the whole reason that you fight, if there's alien species and we fight intergalactic wars, the whole reason you would do that is to protect the thing that you were building. But the whole reason that you're doing that is because you want the people to be able to just kind of enjoy. And it's an interesting thing that the only reason we think to ourselves, you have to make people harder, is because we know that bad things happen. But I've never understood why no one will even admit that the concept of we should stop bad things from happening and figure out all the ways to do that is even something that we could think about. It's always got to be, how do you react to the bad thing? It's never, what if we stopped it from happening in the first place?
Bro just described my life with that intro. That's my predictions for what the comment section would look like if I didn't just bring that up. All over social media, there's this...
I like Cole a lot, obviously. Definitely not my life. My life is much more... I'm very lucky. I have friends. I talk to them basically every single day. I have someone that I live with who I really like and enjoy their company. I have a very varied life that changes day to day, week to week. I get to do lots of interesting things, and I know lots of interesting people. But I know that there's probably a lot of people who feel what you just saw on screen.
Trend
16
of men doing
minutes,
all of the activities I just showed
this is
over
a
some
new,
sad or motivating
one.
music. But why does it even matter anyways, and what does it tell us about the current state of affairs in the West? I think the answer goes much deeper than you think. What do you do when you've finished everything you've had to do for the day?
A lot of time I go to sleep nowadays. That's the truth.
I believe this question tackles the root of the rising issue of male loneliness in the modern world. So two obvious answers come to mind.
But I'm a little bit of a nutcase in the way that I sort of schedule out everything. I know about what time my friends are going to be playing whatever game we're playing right now, and I try to get everything. That's something that I have to do that day. I don't think of it as my leisure time. I think of it as a thing, like a plan that I have.
Minds. The first is that you invest in some sort of hobby or you hang out with friends. Whatever you end up doing, it's going to require some effort on your part. But in most cases, humans have a preference towards choosing the path of least resistance. In order to understand...
I've always played music, so it just is a natural thing for me.
This rise of this...
I always feel bad whenever people... I play guitar and I play quite a few instruments, and whenever people say something like, I want to learn guitar or whatever, and what do you recommend? And I always think, well, buy a guitar, first of all, and then, I don't know, dude. I see adults trying to learn an instrument, and I remember, it gives me these flashes of memory of being a child and being so bad at guitar that I could not even play the most simplest of things, and it was really disheartening. So like, I don't know how to do that. Probably get an instructor of some sort. A guitar teacher is, I still occasionally see the guitar teacher that I've had since I was 11 years old. And we have a lesson once in a while, and it's always a blessing to me to just sit and be with him and find something new that he can show me.
Only male aesthetic. I think we have to look at how this path of least resistance has changed in the past couple decades or so. If we go back to the 90s, just before things like the internet and the cell phone,
go to school, get out of school, either get a job or go to college. Those are the paths of least resistance, or go into the military. That was really, really common. Nowadays, the path of least resistance is to live with your parents, play video games, go to the gym, do those things, not talk to people.
Really became mainstream. It was almost impossible to not have to interact with people in real life.
Yeah.
Peer pressure and social conformity before individualism and being unique was...
There was nothing to do. There was no limitless entertainment available, and if it was much more difficult to come across. Video games didn't last forever, and they were much more frustrating and much less appealing to us. You didn't have all of the internet's social media to just keep you on your phone scrolling for hours. You didn't have Netflix and these giant compendiums of every movie that had ever been made. You had to leave your house to do things. I talked about this at one point about how it used to be that anything that you did required a ritual. Getting a movie required you to go to Blockbuster or your local video rental store, and then you had to have little interactions with the people who were checking you out, and all these things are the people who were looking at movies as well. You had to find a movie physically that was there. You grabbed the little tag or the box Blockbuster, and you walked it up front. They got the movie for you. They gave you the date that you had to bring it back, so you knew that there was a time in the future that you had to come back to this place. You took the movie home, you popped the popcorn, you sat down, you put it in, you watched the movie, and that was a ritual. To get food, you had to leave your house. You don't have to do that anymore. To get porn, you had to leave your house. You don't have to do that anymore. I mean, we've de-ritualized all these things for the sake of convenience, and it's really taken so much of what we as humans actually find joy in, which is that little bit of stress, the little bit of difficulty to do something. Overcoming that feels good.
Glorified was much more prominent. Now, you could argue that forcing people to conform and interact with people whom...
How many of you guys have had the experience to where you have video games or you have Netflix or whatever, but you just end up not doing anything because you just can't think of anything that sounds good to you to do? That's, I think, an effect of this super conveniencing of everything.
They share no common interest with is a bad thing, and I would pretty much agree with you there. I don't think anyone is arguing that being around the wrong group of people is better than being alone. But it's the opportunity that arises when you're forced to socialize and not spend all of your time inside.
Totally.
If we think of this solely in terms of statistics, if you spend more of your waking hours surrounded by people, doing activities with other people in person, whether forced or not, the chances of finding friends that you do connect with is much greater than if you weren't forced to interact with anyone at all. But now, since you can work remotely, deliver food to your door in minutes, although
this is super true. I will put a little caveat on this right now, though, that in the modern day and time, it's not just a matter of you getting out of the house to make friends. People have a weird resistance to becoming friends with someone now. They don't mind being an acquaintance with somebody, but getting that next step is difficult for a lot of people, and you can feel the resistance from other human beings too. If you're at the gym and you talk to someone a little bit out of like a spur of the moment, oh man, that was heavyweight, whatever. Oh, nice chest, dude. Whatever you say to them, then you might have this nice little conversation, but it's not like you go home and then you call them on the phone or anything. You usually don't make any kind of lasting long-term connection with people nowadays. And I think it's because most people just want to be left alone, honestly. This isn't a rewiring of your brain thing that you need to do. This is a societal issue that's sort of facing everything. I don't mind talking to people out and about. I love doing it. But I just... It's a lot of work to have friends. It's a lot of extra stress on your life to have to keep up with another responsibility and meet another person's needs. And so I'm already pretty booked up at this point, and it's just difficult. So I think that a lot of people are just dealing with the same thing.
Let's be honest, DoorDashers take centuries to get to your place. And send any and all information that used to require human interaction on the internet. There's no real urge to step outside and increase those chances. This draws attention to a severe lack in what used to be commonplace for the average young adult in America: a third place. But before we get into third places, there's another unintended consequence to wearing the same.
People love to talk about third places. I don't know how I feel about the concept of third places. All the references to what third places used to be, I feel like aren't that good a lot of the times. Bars aren't necessarily a place that I want to be. I do miss like mini golf and stuff like that. These arcades, places that had things that I was interested in and I'm still interested in, but seem to go away for some reason.
Same hoodies and t-shirts every single day, and that is that you stop caring about your hygiene. And when you stop caring about your hygiene, then having the confidence to actually put yourself out there and feel sociable is much more difficult. All right, fellas, I want to tell you a story that highlights the importance of your stench. So I was over at my girlfriend's house one day.
Where is this going? The importance of it. Is this going to be an advertisement at some point? It is. Scentbird. Okay.
And she was on FaceTime with her best friend, and her best friend had just gotten back from going on a first date. Her best friend said, yeah, he was great. He was very gentlemanly. He was very easy to talk to. He made me feel safe and secure, but I just couldn't get over the smell. This dude had everything going for him, but solely because he didn't take care of.
Okay, so a personal story. I grew up in the time when Axe body spray was super popular. Everybody would just cake themselves in Axe body spray. And ever since that time period of my life, when I discovered that people actually don't like the smell of a whole lot of fragrance, I now tend to use basically no cologne or anything. I put on unscented deodorant. I wash myself with face wash and then a dial bar for the hot zones and everything. And my goal is to smell like nothing. I don't ever really enjoy being behind somebody in a line and just smelling this very blue Versace sort of fragrant thing coming off of them. Now, this doesn't extend to both genders. I think that ladies' fragrances are usually a lot better, lavender and vanilla and all those kinds of things. That stuff usually is a lot more acceptable in my brain. But fellas, I'm warning you, don't be roped in too much with the idea that having a really strong fragrance on you is what everybody wants, because a lot of people don't even like to be around really strong fragrances, and male fragrances are extremely abrasive most of the time. So just be aware of that. But the problem is with like lady fragrances, if you're a guy and you wear lady fragrances, you will get that odd friend who just basically wants to sleep with you because of the fragrance that you're wearing. You'll notice a shift in the behavior of other guys around you. It's bizarre, dude. Their brains are connected to these things. This is an odd topic to veer onto, but whatever.
How he smelled, he did not get a second date. I've been taking the way I smell in my cologne game a lot more seriously over the past couple of years, which you probably don't know because, well, you can't smell me through the screen. And I have felt much more confident in my day-to-day routines. I noticed
I can't smell the fragrance on me because I get nose blind to it after just a few minutes. So
that I feel more willing to talk to people, more people are willing to talk to me, and I just give off a different sort of energy. And one way you can get really premium fragrances for a fraction.
It's an interesting idea and concept that by masking whatever your natural smell is, by spraying on some kind of hyper fragrance thing, that you are then more appealing to people, because all they can say is, oh, this guy wears cologne. And I guess that is sort of a status thing, and there's a lot of little things tied into it. But I work with fragrances all day, every day, and have smelled lots and lots of fragrances and make fragrances and do a lot of things of that nature. And to me, it just doesn't, all I do whenever I smell people's colognes, I just think, oh yeah, there's like notes of bergamot and cinnamon in there.
Of the price is using Scentbird. So Scentbird sent me over 4 fragrances to try. This is the Montserrat Paris Rose Vanille. I don't know how to pronounce these. Vanille. The Meissen 21G Paris Rose Ritual.
The Rose is a really good fragrance. I do think that if you're going to wear a fragrance, try to wear something that feels more natural. Unless you are, I mean, there are a lot of dudes who are the type of guy that a really aggressive scent can work for them. You sort of have to match it to yourself.
Beau Rosario and the Scents of Wood Vanilla in Bourbon. Now, me personally, I like a nice musky, woody type of scent.
They always go for a musky, woody type. That's what men smell like, dude. That's what I smell like. No, you don't. You smell like a flower shop, my guy.
Because I just find that when I wear something like that, it smells masculine, and I feel.
I'm sorry. I have a weird thing. I'm aware that it's just a me problem, but just the idea of needing to be so turbo masculine all the time cracks me up and makes me giggle in some kind of, it feels like you're a boy who is so worried about the world not seeing you as a man that you feel the need to put on this facade of manhood constantly, and that shit gives me the giggles that people actually feel that way. Get over yourself.
Feel more masculine. Just feel like a dude. The problem with this stuff is that usually
I don't know, man. Maybe I just don't have enough gender euphoria or whatever, or dysphoria or whatever it's called. But I just feel like a guy when I wake up every day of my life. That's just how I feel. I walk out into the end of the world, and I just feel whenever I interact with people, I'm like, yeah, I'm a guy. I'm a man. That's who I am. It's just I've had facial hair since I was 14 years old. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
To get these types of high quality fragrances, it costs
and body hair. I mean, I'm just ripping body hair everywhere.
Like $400 to $500.
It's very hard for me to not feel like a man.
Outrageous.
The hair on my back curls in waves because of how long it can get.
That is why Scentbird is so great. Instead of getting an entire bottle, which you might not even end up liking or using, they send out these samples for you to try. It starts with just $8 a month, and then for your next month, it is $16.95 a month, which is insane. That's like 90% off.
I would never subscribe to Scentbird unless they want to give me money, in which case I would recommend that everyone subscribes to Scentbird. Do you not want to smell good? Do you not know that the only way to attract a woman is to smell really nice, like one of these fragrances that Scentbird offers? That if you don't go with Scentbird, you will most likely be alone going to the gym every single day of your life and working for nothing because you'll just end up smelling like body odor all the time, and this is the only way to combat it? Do you not know that? If Scentbird wants to give me their money.
Of these really high quality fragrances. So if you are interested in trying out Scentbird, you can use the code Cole at checkout, or you can click the link below.
I could use the same coupon code, dude. That's my name too, bro.
We'll give you 55% off your first
We'd
month.
use Rubus though, let's be honest.
It's just $8 a month for your first month, and you get access to all these premium fragrances.
5 minutes per minute of video. I have to go faster.
Check that out. Code Cole at checkout, or link in the description below. Let's shift our focus back to that question that tackles the root of the lonely male aesthetic.
Of course, yes.
But let's twist the question a little bit.
Yes.
When you're finished with school or you're done with work, where do you frequently go? My guess is your answer would be your house or the gym, neither of which are environments that encourage social activity. Unless you're going to the gym with a group, which you probably aren't if you relate to the intro skit.
Yeah, I think going to the gym with a group more than one or two people is almost counterproductive to going to the gym, especially if you're the group of teenagers that was at my gym the other day, who there was 6 of you, and you were all standing around screaming whenever one of your friends would try to do 1 rep of 225, and the person who was holding the bar was just pulling with all of his might, and the person underneath the bar was pushing with all of his, and everyone else just screaming as loud as they could. And then that guy sits on the bench for 15 minutes before the next person gets on the bench. I don't think you're actually getting a very good workout in.
In contrast to places like your house or the gym, a third place, which was a term first coined by sociologist Ray Oldenburg in his 1989 book, The Great Good Place, is a setting which a person frequents beyond their home or work that usually encourages one to socialize. In short, it's just a fun place to hang out where people can chill and not have to focus on anything related to work, and all people of different cultures.
I would almost describe a lot of people's phones as their third place, which is sort of a sad thing. And most people aren't actually socializing on their phones. They're observing other people's posts, and that's sort of a whole other thing that we can talk about at some point. But maybe online video games could be the closest approximation for what a third place is in the modern era, because there is a lot of socialization that goes on in online video games, especially if you have lots of friends. But otherwise, I have a hard time understanding what a social area was in the past 30 years period, because in a restaurant, you're just hanging out with the people who you went there with, and you could go anywhere. You could have them over to your house. You do, if that's not really meeting strangers and socializing. A bar is the only thing that I can think of, but bars have become so degenerate as of lately, unless you're going to these big upscale bars, and that brings out a whole other type of personality that I don't even like to think about.
Cultures and backgrounds come to these places to just hang out. Common examples of third places include bars, cafes, bookstores, community centers.
Bookstores are an interesting one, definitely. People used to go to bookstores and coffee shops back in the day way more than they do now. And nowadays, when people go to a place like a coffee shop or a bookstore, they don't want to be spoken to. They just want to sit there on their laptop.
Restaurants, barbershops, and you could even consider gym to be a third place too, if you use the gym to actually talk to people rather than stare at your phone between sets. Now,
this is sort of an issue that I always have with a type of video that's trying to solve a problem. And this is why it's very difficult for me to sit down and think of really good topics for content, because I think by nature, the idea of a third place is sort of riddled with holes, that it's difficult to actually pin down a place that you could go regularly after work, like the barber shop. Who's going to the barber shop every single day? So, and you still have to go to barbershops to get your haircut if you get your haircut, unlike, me. But like I said, I think it's kind of riddled with problems. There are lots of holes that you could poke your finger into if you really wanted to. And that makes it difficult for me to see how there could be a fix for this problem, or that this is even the root cause of the problem, that people used to have all these third places. I think one really big third place that has fallen off in the past forever is church, that people used to go to some kind of religious organization, and they would hang out there 3 times a week, 4 times a week, depending. My parents, when I was a kid, we would go to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday evening, Saturday for youth group, and Thursday sometimes for like prayer meeting or whatever. And that was the real third place for a lot of people. And I think it's an interesting notion that these places that are really just places of commerce, like bars, cafes, bookstores, that those were ever third places. And I could be totally wrong here. And maybe I'm missing the point of third places entirely. So if you were someone who was an adult when bookstores were still really a thing, or an adult whenever people still left their houses, tell me, I used to go to shows a lot, and that was a great place to socialize. But as I get older, I don't feel the need to go out places as much. I don't enjoy it anywhere near as much. You get older, and there's a bigger gap between you and the youngest people who are at those things. When you're 18, you're the youngest person, and you want to be seen as being cool. But then when you're, now as I am approaching 30, there's a huge gap between you and that 18-year-old of life experience. And when you see someone acting a fool in public, that kind of thing, just irritated by them.
Now, here's the thing. Although a lot of people spend way more time doing activities that only require themselves in their house with an internet connection, most people really do value and want to go to these third places. I think we all love them. I mean, who doesn't love going to an old bookstore and rummaging through the books?
I do love going somewhere. I want it to be this perfect experience in my brain that it almost never is. But I really do enjoy going to libraries, especially. I think libraries are a really cool place to go to. I like going to vintage game stores. I like going to bookstores, obviously. I wish that we had internet cafes, honestly. I really like the idea of internet cafes a lot. I wish that was a more popular thing around where I live. But yeah, man, I don't know.
Finding one that is covered in dust with a strange name, and then you go sit on...
I don't really like going to card shops. I know that people are going to point that out. I don't know, man. I don't play Magic the Gathering. I don't play Pokemon cards. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! I haven't really ever gotten into card games. It's just not my thing. I do like D&D groups, but those are rare at card shops nowadays.
A weird couch that
They've
looks like 50
trading
years
cards
old,
so much,
and
board
you just
games
read
have
the
become
first
less
few
in vogue.
pages. But the problem is that America has purposefully ruined the way we operate between residential areas and commercial areas. Between 2008 and 2015, stores selling sporting goods, hobby items, musical instruments, and books decreased by 27%.
Yeah, totally, I could see that.
While barbershops, beauty salons, and laundromats dropped by nearly 23%. There are now zoning laws which prevent commercial spaces like bars and cafes from building in residential areas.
Yeah, and this is true too because just less people have been using these places, and as we've gotten social media and the ability to review places and the ability to sort of know about all the places around us by just searching on Google, no longer does a shop have to service the area that's around it. People can figure out what the best place for them to go to within a certain distance is. And so you're fighting this fight of marketing constantly. And a lot of times it's not even about where you would be the happiest. It's about your perceived idea of what the best of the best around you is. And then that's the place that a lot of people want to go, which is funny because I find myself doing the opposite a lot of times. I like a gym that's kind of gritty. I like a place that has dim lighting and is sort of concrete-y and there's cracks all over. I like that thing.
Which means people have to rely on cars and waiting in traffic for potentially hours just to get to a third place. And this only further disincentivizes the idea of going to one. Hostile architecture that screams, "We don't want you to chill here," leaves less areas for teens to have spontaneous hangout sessions as well, all culminating into a society quite literally designed to keep you socially isolated. This environment reverberates through the culture of the youth.
It's interesting. I really do wonder why that is. I'm going to be right back. All right, I'm back. I don't want to live in a mind where I start to believe that life is designed to keep us down in some kind of way or another. I don't want to think that the government is purposely trying to have some big conspiracy to keep all of us inside of our houses and away from being with each other. But there is a lot of evidence that sort of makes it seem that way. And I worry about veering into being a manic a conspiracy theorist whenever I think about that stuff. So I often try to sort of veer away from it. But it does seem like we are easier to control if we're lonely and isolated and having a hard time connecting with other people. If we're depressed and tired and overworked and underpaid, it's much easier to keep us in one place so we're more predictable. I think that this idea of surveillance that's constant with everybody isn't the truth. I think that the people who need to be surveyed are surveyed by the government, the FBI, whoever it is, and then the people who don't need to, or what their real goal is to make as many people is to make it as unnecessary as possible for the majority of people to be surveyed. By making them people who do nothing, you can guarantee that, hey, that guy's probably not going to lead some kind of insane uprising that changes things. Hey, that person's probably not going to get involved with the drug trade because he never leaves this 10 square mile area from where he lives. There's things like that I think are very beneficial to the government. And I assume that these things are probably thought of and talked about and put into practice, And if not, I mean, it's very strange that everything just sort of goes that way naturally, that the majority of people sort of never really do anything. It's that thing that I alluded to earlier where people who go to the gym want to feel like it's this really big, amazing thing that they're doing, but you're just going to the gym. That's it. You drive or walk down the road a little bit, you walk into a place, you lift some heavy stuff for an hour, and then you go home.
And is reflected in the lack of social effort exuded by a lot of young dudes. Just one of the many reasons why the lonely male aesthetic is rising on social media. But I don't really like just playing the victim card here. Is it tougher to find a spot to just hang out? Yes, but there are still so many third places I can think of that are even close to me. And I can only imagine the reason that many of these third places started shutting down is because there was less of a demand for them. People started going to them less, and then sales dropped, and then they were forced to close.
Said that a little bit
ago. The real
ago.
problem is related to what I stated earlier. Humans often go for the path of least resistance when it comes to getting what they want and need. And the path of least resistance to relationships.
This is that thing. Humans have this idea, we as people have this idea that we sort of, because we're conscious, we have control over everything around us, and we have the ability to make these really true decisions that we can go, oh, I'm going to eat this way from now on. But then as you try to do that, you quickly realize, have you ever seen that like the meme that's like, oh, the way fast food talks to me late at night when I said that I'm going to start eating healthier, and it's the soothing woman voice. These hormones inside of us, the chemicals, the external stimulus that we receive from marketing and from just triggers that we've built into our lives without knowing it because we've sort of built these patterns around us. These things have as much control on us as we have control on us, if not more. I often think of humans as the thing that perceives. It's the thing behind the eyes. It's the way that all of this stuff somehow interacts together to make us feel like we are in control of something. And that thing is us, and that, the world around us, the things that we can pick up and move around and redecorate and place in the places that we want. And that gives us this illusion of control. But there isn't any control. I don't believe in it, at least. I think that I am able to move tiny factors one at a time, and then that will, over time, slowly build into something else. And a lot of times I think about when people start trying to change everything in their life all at once, that it disrupts and makes you actually have this big relapse because you can't change that many things at once. There's sort of a hard-coded, the only reason you function is because of a certain amount of structure that you already have built into your life. And if you say, okay, I'm going to start eating healthier, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to run every single day, I'm going to read 4 books every month, I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to start working extra shifts at where I work, I'm going to make sure that my room is clean clean every night before I go to bed. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to start taking vitamins. I'm going to get a protein supplement. When you add all these new things, all of a sudden, all of your structure is gone. You don't have any idea how to place all that stuff in. And then you fail in this really dramatic way and you feel terrible about yourself and you have this big relapse into the way that you used to live. And so I just don't think that there's this sort of ability that we have to just boom, be a different thing all of a sudden.
With other people that aren't actually relationships at all is parasocial relationships that many young men now have with their favorite content creators.
Totally.
A parasocial relationship. I'm
starting to notice, so I'm interested in parasocial relationships because I'm starting to notice that already, and this is a thing that I think I don't even know if I should talk about this, honestly. I might leave it.
For those who don't know, is a one-sided relationship.
I think that it's something other than a parasocial relationship. I don't think people actually see people like me as their friends. I think that people see people like me as a show that they watch, and that we are like a fan fiction that they build up in their head, sort of. And over time, the more and more you see of me, the more you feel like your expectations for what I'm going to do are correct, so you almost feel like you're controlling the show.
Where a person extends their emotional energy, interest, and time into someone.
People don't talk to people on the internet. People don't talk to Asmongold in the comments. They talk about Asmongold.
Who probably doesn't even know they exist. Parasocial relationships
and that's not
have existed ever since celebrities have been a thing.
You don't talk about your friends in front of your friend. You don't go, wow, that's such a Jacob thing to do. When he said this, ha ha ha, that made me laugh. You go, oh, Jacob, that was really funny.
But never have they existed at such a scale as they do now. We all know too much about each other at this point.
I might just lean into the meta thing, honestly. This is what I've always been interested in. I do this thing in my brain where I'm constantly trying to decide what it is that is the best thing for me to do for this YouTube channel. Let's get fucking out there, dude. I'm feeling goofy today. I have so much to do, and this video is taking a really long time to make. I've gotten 2 texts that I haven't checked, and they could be from Tiff asking me about things. I might just lean in the meta thing. Like I said, I constantly have this battle in my head of what's the best thing that I can do for the health of my YouTube channel. But the longer and longer I have the YouTube channel for, which it's only been a couple of months at this point that I've been doing this, I'm starting to see this weird behavior pattern where I can get more notoriety if I talk about things that I know are going to be controversial. I made that video about veganism and people were not happy. People were extremely angry. And the controversy, I got like 78 comments on a video with 800 views. That's insane, bro. The amount of people who feel the need to come in there and personally attack me when all they know about me is that I don't eat the same way that they do is such an easy thing that I could farm. And my brain has these 2 sides where I think, well, I want to be successful in the things that I do. And then it has this other side where it's like, but I'm actually interested in these things. And the sort of meta-analysis of everything that's going on the internet is the thing that I'm super interested in. That's why I'm here right now. And this might be something I stop talking about in the future because it sort of puts people off. But I want to interact with people on the internet so badly, and I want to be able to sort of run a space to where I can control the things that are being talked about in that space, at least in a minor kind of way. These things have a mind of their own, and you can't actually control a space on the internet, I don't believe. I think that as you get a group of people together who watch, you sort of become this amalgamation of all of those people. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to have a good ability to experience this kind of thing because I've always been obsessed with the sort of one-way relationships on the internet, with the cult of personality that goes on with people like Cole Hastings and Asmongold and all these kinds of people. This stuff really, really interests me, and it's sort of why I'm so determined for some reason to be on the internet making videos and making content. And that's a weird thing to admit out loud because I know that turns people off and you think all these things. And once again, this is that meta-analysis part of my brain coming into play. But honestly, at the end of the day, the thing that I think should put some of that at rest for you is that just I'm not here to cause harm to anyone. I am here to interact and to experience and to enjoy and to talk about things that I like to talk about and to sort of just be the show. I've always enjoyed being the show as long as there's a level of separation from us. Goes into a whole other thing, but yeah, I don't know. I might stay away from the meta stuff in the future, and I think sometimes it's bad to even talk about because you shouldn't show your hand too much, but I sort of feel weird if I don't show my hand, and I think that most people who are on the internet doing this are thinking the exact same things that I do. They just don't tell you about it because they know that it's sort of weird. It's matrixy.
Point, which is kind of ironic considering
no one has this many views and this many subscribers without being absolutely obsessed on how to drive traffic to things. This is not an accident. There's no way that this is an accident.
Now lonelier than
and I know because of the amount of work that I've had to put in over the course of my life in order to get to a point that I can have even 500 subscribers, which is in the course. I mean, people literally, when I disagree with something in a video, they will comment on that video and go, you only have 500 subscribers and you think you have the right to disagree with something they said? Yeah, because I'm a person, so I can do anything I want to do. But so I know that it's not a large amount of viewers, but the amount of the amount of effort and work and thought that I've had to put into getting to this point was astounding. I mean, it's easy to talk about now because I'm not through it, but because I've done a lot of that work now, and I'm in. When you don't have a lot of that work done, there's a huge amount of space still to go, and it freaks you out. It's crazy. You see the mountain and it's 10 miles tall and you've walked 2 feet and you're already tired and you think, how the hell am I going to get up this mountain? But when you start getting around 2 or 3 miles up that mountain and you think, okay, I can do this. It's hard. I have to take breaks. I have to put in a lot of effort that I could just not put in if I didn't want to do this, but I can do this. It's like when you're leveling up in a video game, you're trying to get to some new thing, and it's a huge grind, and you know that you have 6 weeks of time that you have to put into this game. You eventually get to a point you go, I can do this. But it's weird, man. I can only imagine the kind of thoughts that people like this are having. Sorry, I'll get off of it.
Of people who post their lives on social.
We're 52 minutes into the video. At this point, if there's anyone still watching, you get to hear the weird stuff.
Media for a
Congratulations.
living like me. The feeling you get when you consistently watch your favorite content creators replicates the feeling of being with other people just enough to the point where it convinces you that you're getting help.
The longer I go in a video, the more I start to veer into the things that my brain is just sort of cracking on in the background.
The social interaction for just long enough.
Because these videos are super long for a weird reason. These videos are here for attention. He's written a script for this video and he could get these concepts out much quicker, but he's trying to keep you entertained for as long as he can so he can put as many ads as possible into this video so that you continue watching it. And so when I watch a video like this and I have to react to it, eventually my brain just goes, yeah, we'll get to the chorus, dude. Like, tell me what's up.
Until it's too late in the day to really do anything.
So I have something to talk about.
All the time I get comments saying, I wish I knew you in real life. I feel like we would be really good friends. Or see comments like, insert content creator name here, is so relatable. I feel like I have a better connection with them than the people I know in real life. I'm going to be completely honest with you here and shatter your reality a little bit. Just because you find a content creator relatable does not mean that you guys would be friends.
Is he about to say what I was just saying?
They would want to be friends with you in real life. But that's the thing, right? These creators who...
It's about time that you spend with people, realistically. And we all spend way more time with the people on the internet than we do with the people in our real life at this point. Things are busy. People have jobs. There's only so many hours a week that you can actually spend with your real friends, but there's unlimited time that you can spend on someone like him or like me. I upload a video every single day, sometimes 2 videos a day. Those videos are over 52 minutes long. Over the course of a month, you could have 60 hours of content that you could spend with me. 60 hours of your time that you could spend with me. Think about how much time you get to spend with your real life friends if you're someone who works a job and they don't work that job with you. Maybe 8 hours a week if you're really, really lucky. That's only 32 hours a month. That's half the time. So the bond that you feel with somebody starts to go up, and you start to make these associations because we as humans are hardwired to like the people who are around us more, because historically that would be our tribe, and you have to have some kind of bond with those people in order for you all to survive. So you sort of make this your tribe? I'm really interested because it's never something I've had any good experience or like capable experience with. When you're watching somebody and say you have a streamer that you really like, and if you're still here, answer this question for me. If you have a streamer you really like and you watch them a lot, do you have any camaraderie with the people who also watch that streamer on the stream? You might meet someone in real life who also watches that streamer, and that doesn't count. In the stream, people that you meet through the internet and through that fandom, do you have camaraderie with those people, or is it just the streamer that you're watching? That's what I'm interested in.
Share their personality and vulnerabilities more than the average person in real life.
It's a good video.
Make you feel like you can connect with them on a deeper level than most of the people you meet, because that is their job, to share their personality and vulnerabilities, and they're usually less afraid to do it than people in real life.
Totally.
This has created social media cliques around different creators, which mirror cliques in real life.
I'm decently guarded in real life, honestly. And I have a tendency to try to push the conversation onto the other person's interests and things. And I sort of try to keep away from mine because historically my interests have been ones that a lot of people have sort of been weirded out by. When I was younger, video games were not as accepted of a thing. They were a thing that people thought that you were sort of wasting your life and time with. And so I sort of don't want to talk about the things that I'm interested in, because that's how a lot of the things that I'm interested in have been portrayed. Or I feel like the things that I like are portrayed in a way to people who don't really partake in them the way that I do, that they have big misconceptions about them. And by starting a conversation about that thing, it will sort of push us into a direction of where I have to explain a whole lot. And the more I explain, the deeper I get into a hole. And as you guys see here, I don't feel like talking to most people for 57 minutes at a time when I'm just out and about shopping for groceries.
There's the Minecraft gamer clique, the brain rot clique, the makeup clique, the van life clique, and last but not least, the lonely male gym bro / gym cell clique. And unlike real life, which is rarely giving you an opportunity to feel like you belong, this online clique, whose content matches heavily enough with your daily thoughts and routines.
Run from groups. Run from them. Don't associate yourself as one thing. It is a trap. Develop a personality. Get out there and be a whole bunch of different things. Be someone who can move between places as much as possible. Don't limit yourself to one thing, because if you get bored of that thing, you will become bitter and jaded and angry, and you will become aggressive towards other people who say anything negative about it, because secretly you feel really negative about it, but you feel like your entire image is staked on this now, and so you have to commit to it. Be very careful.
Rewards you by giving you a place to finally fit in. Now comes the follow-up question. What's wrong with that? I mean, that's a great question to ask. There are a lot of advantages to finally having that place where you feel like you belong, even if it just is on the internet. I mean, it's better than being a lonely gym bro and having absolutely nobody who understands you or what you're going through.
This is what I was talking about earlier, though, when I was saying, do you feel connected to the people who are in the comments with you? Do you feel connected to the people who are in chat with you when you're watching a streamer? Do you feel connected to the people who you are seeing on Reddit threads that you're also making your comment on? And I think the answer a lot of times is no, that you don't recognize people, you don't feel actual camaraderie, you don't actually feel like you're very much like them. You feel like you're like the person at the top, and you feel like everyone else is just sort of there almost in the way, sort of, a lot of times. And that's not really feeling like you belong to something. That's more of like a searching thing that you're doing.
And who knows, maybe you could make some friends online through that clique if you actually made an effort.
Just so people know too, this is really low at the end of the video, so people probably won't see it. But just so you know, when I say something like that, I don't mean that that's the only truth that can possibly be. There are limitless possibilities in the universe, and I can be wrong about anything at any given time. If you hear me say something and you think that when I'm speaking extemporaneously, just off the top of my head, and you think that, well, he must really feel and want to die on that hill. No, I don't.
Effort to reach out to them. But the thing I fear most by glorifying
it's what I think in the moment
as an aesthetic is I just don't think it's sustainable long term. There is no substitute for face-to-face interaction in real life with some good people where you can feed off of each other's energies that you're getting by being together. There's just not. And I've talked about this in my Stop Trying to Be So Mysterious video, but this whole loner...
Yeah, you're not Sasuke, dude. Don't be Sasuke.
No one understands me vibe that you're giving off is almost definitely a natural response to a world who you're afraid to show your true self to. A world that if you continue not showing your true self to, will not give you the opportunities to find those people that you only think exist online. Listen, I'm not here to preach to you about how you should live your life. If you are in this lonely male aesthetic and you genuinely enjoy being alone all the time and living this way and it isn't hurting your mental health, then keep doing it. But I think the large majority of men who fit that aesthetic aren't very happy with their lives. How do I know this?
Well, and they're sort of putting up this front a lot of times of, and it's everyone else's fault that I'm like this. And it's not. It's definitely yours. Any way that you are, we are both victims and victimizers at the same time. We are both perpetrators and victims constantly. And your belief that you're some kind of Batman walking through the world is a figment of your imagination. And I'm not trying to harp on you or make you feel bad for having that figment. That's a safety blanket that you're wearing. But I guarantee you that if you just put yourself out there, people will like you. It might not be everybody. Most likely it won't be everybody. There's a lot of people who really fucking don't like me, dude. But you will find people who feel what you feel and think the way you think, and you'll be able to make friends that way. And there is nothing better than being able to let loose and let down all of your shields and talk to people who you are really close to. I went to a birthday party a few weeks ago for someone who I have known for a very long time, since I was in high school, and we've maintained a friendship that whole time, and all of his friends are friends of mine that I have had ever since I was in high school. And I can't tell you how I rode the high for multiple days of how good it felt to be around people who remember all of the things and people that I remember, and who feel so similarly to me about so many things, and how we have had such similar lives over the years. It was like I don't ever have to have a moment where I'm pretending something for the sake of this other person right now. I can just be filtered myself, and everything is totally fine, and they're having a blast and I'm having a blast, and this is all good right now. That's such an amazing feeling, and something you will completely miss out on if you don't take the time to let your walls down once in a while, to not be a jerk to people, to talk about why you do things instead of just what you do, to get a little bit more in tune with those around you.
One, we have the data to back up the link between loneliness and poor mental health. But secondly, it's because I too have been occupying the reality of the lonely male aesthetic for the past couple months now, and I can feel it eating away at me a little. This video isn't just for the lonely gym bro self-improvement type males out there. It's also a video for me, for the guy who's kind of lost his way recently. The guy that knows he could be doing more if he just responded to more of those texts or spent time planning something fun with the people he knows in his...
Yeah, but this goes back again to not being as in control as you think you are. When you're really exhausted, and if he's living a life where he's making these really difficult to make videos, and I mean, this shot alone, man, took a lot of effort and time to get, I'm sure. It's not... That phone is not actually lighting his face. There is some light somewhere on his face, and it's lighting him up. There's probably a light outside of his window with a blue gel on it. He has all of the... And just to get this one shot for this video, that kind of work that he's doing, maybe as a second job, maybe as his full-time job, I don't know. But that kind of work that he's doing is exhausting and consumes you in a really interesting way. And there are texts that I get from people that I want to respond to, and I cannot bring myself to respond to them for some reason. And usually it comes from exhaustion.
Area, but rarely reaches out to do so. I'm not sure how much us young guys can do to change the laws and the shutdowns of these third places that lead to more community-centric activities, but I do know that we can make them more in demand if we show up to these places more, or create them ourselves. At the very
Yeah, but how are we going to feed the beast of the internet? How am I going to pump out content every single day for the hungry mouths that are out there if I don't stay home and do exactly this every single? How am I going to make money for Google? How am I going to do that? They'll put me in jail if I don't make money for Google.
At least start by finding
I shouldn't have said that.
Finding a place where you can chill, which does not need to be related to improving yourself or grinding. Technically, it can be related to that, but I believe the best intention behind finding a good third place is finding a place where you can completely take your mind off of work and just have really deep, great conversations. Start showing up if you do feel lonely in your current routine and you know it's starting to affect your mental health. And if that really doesn't work, if there's really no good third places in your area, I hate to say this, but you gotta be the one to create something like that.
You don't have to be. When I was a kid, there was a guy, not a kid, but when I was a teenager, late teens and early 20s, there was a guy who put on a local venue that was really, really good called the Cartriff, and that's where we would play every single weekend, sometimes twice a weekend. The reason that my band did anything at all and became the band that it was, and it was able to play shows around and get out there and play in other states and write music and play festivals and all that kind of stuff, is because we were able to play at that venue sometimes, I mean, most of the time, twice a weekend. We were jokingly called the Cartriff House Band because if you went to the Cartriff, usually we would be playing a show there. And that's really how we cut our teeth and figured out how to interact with the crowd and how to get people going. And that's sort of what followed us around and gave us the fan base that would write to these festivals and would help us out. I mean, meeting the right people and getting people into our music is the way that we got those opportunities. And I'm so grateful for that. That being said, I'm probably not someone who should set up a quote-unquote third space. Maybe I should. Maybe I should start an internet cafe. Maybe that's what my entire life is going towards. But I don't think I'm that guy. And so, I don't know, man. Is it on me to start that third place? I mean, if it's such a necessary human thing, feels like it should be happening already.
You're the one to put your hoodie down and take your AirPods out and start going up and talking to people. You got to be the one.
I do that all the time. I love, oh my goodness. I don't even know how to explain it. I fish. I go fishing. I see if they want to talk or not. And because a lot of people want to talk, but they'll never admit it. So you just go, oh, how are you doing? And they go, oh, I'm doing good. And then you take a little glance at them and you figure something out. Maybe they have an anime pen or something on, and you go, oh, do you like anime? And then you get a waterfall.
To create some sort of community or volunteer work if you can't find it. Ideally, you could find some sort of volunteer work or maybe a book club. I don't know what you're interested in, but it's probably out there. And if it's not, there's people waiting for you to create the organization.
Yeah, and this was sort of, I mean, I've had a lot of these third places over my life now that I think about it. I mean, the studio that I used to work out of was a third place, and there were people in and out of there absolutely all the time. And I met a lot of people through that. Making music for other people is a great way to get friends. I mean, I have recorded many records over the course of my time. I've recorded tons of music, and I'd like to be able to do that for other people and to give them sort of the experience of, oh, you're not there yet with your vision, or wow, your vision is really good, and sort of to have that grounding experience that they get from it. I really enjoy doing that. Maybe that is part of it. I don't know.
That you wish was out there.
We all
it's a
pretty
hell of a lot more
selfishly
difficult to consistently foster these relationships in real life than continue pretending you're in an anime edit as you walk down a dark, desolate street.
Totally, dude.
But I can tell you from my experience, that's a hell of a lot more fulfilling. If there's one thing I've learned by opening up online, it's this: that even though we all come from very different cultures, backgrounds, and upbringings, what we go through is so incredibly similar. The real reason you can relate to my videos isn't because you and I share this incredibly unique human experience.
Because we're all alike.
It's because everyone goes through the shit you and I are struggling with.
This is the thing that I find really interesting whenever young people want to shout at older people about the opinions that they have, is that I've had all those opinions already. I've already gone through all of that. I know that you think you're telling me something brand new. I've already heard all of this before. I've already thought about those things. I've lived those things, and I found them to be failed ideas. And you're only falling into them because you're a young person who hasn't seen how these things play out yet. But I promise you that over time you will. So I don't even really get angry at people. I just sort of think to myself, wow, this is what young people do, huh?
It's just that most people aren't willing to show that side of themselves unless they are making a profit off of their vulnerabilities, like me. But in that struggle, there's always common ground to find with almost anybody you meet.
We have to monetize everything, obviously. That's the secret. We have to incentivize the masses to connect with other human beings somehow through some kind of credit system, perhaps. We could, allow them to maybe get a free delivery on DoorDash if they make a new friend.
So long as both parties aren't afraid to be human to each other.
Google AdSense for friendship. Google FriendSense. Google, we can pay people to advertise a product or service to a stranger that they've never met before, and if they get a referral through that, oh no, that's a multi-level marketing. Oh, never mind.
I think the internet has given us a great opportunity to really find that tribe whose interests are super aligned.
You have to take away the necessity for the referral. You just, as long as the advertisement gets made, that's all that matters. That's what we do. It's like AdSense that way.
What type of future we want is super aligned.
We're solving it.
And that's when using the internet as a way to find your community really shines. And I wanted to create something like that. So I created a free self-improvement community where you can talk to people, exchange ideas about self-improvement. I know a lot of people don't really talk about that stuff in real life or aren't willing to. So if you want to check out that community, the link is in the description below. And make sure to try out Scentbird by...
Well, good for Cole, man. Good for him for getting out there and doing the thing and having that great haircut and this really handsome face and going to the gym and making friends and finding his third places and wearing that tight black t-shirt of his. Sorry, I just had a Leahy moment. Yeah, guys, this video's already gone on long enough, so I'm not even going to leave you with anything. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and see you guys next time.